but I want to take y'all back where it all started for me.
Let me tell you about my city, a little town where I'm from, where everybody's southern raised, just as good as they come. Backwoods and Macioke and mud holes, and back then we only gave what the farm grow. Man, I miss some days how we played on them dirt roads, and out of towners came with respect, cause they know we all close. Yeah, Southern pride, towing gun folks. Welcome to my city, I-75 South, just north of Live.
I'm from a city called Austin, Georgia, right on the border of Florida. I was raised on these dirt roads, mud tires, spin backwoods when they ride. This is small town living, yeah. Now welcome to my city, title town, 229, turn it up so they can hear it loud. We headed up with big trucks and heavy G's, pretty girls with moonshine and whiskey.
It's nothing like our dirt roads, you can bet that, son. I'm from a city, by any means, we gon' protect our guns. I hang with the rednecks and yee-yees. We get up in big trucks in the backwoods like Indians and teepees. This the home of the mighty, mighty Vikings. Wildcats blazing, title town license. Winners, pretty girls with country grammar. When I say about Austin, Georgia, I ain't talking about Atlanta. This a different type of city, where the woods are pretty, but get gritty. You hear me? What you know about that 229? You can find us on the Florida, Georgia line, where I reside.
I'm from a city called Austin, Georgia, right on the border of Florida. I was raised on these dirt roads, mud tires, spin backwoods when we ride. This is small town living, yeah. Now welcome to my city, title town, 229, turn it up so they can hear it loud. We headed up with big trucks and heavy G's, pretty girls with moonshine and whiskey. Moonshine and whiskey.
Some folks really don't understand how important it is and never forget where you came from. You know, when I say Lowndes County, man, I mean Lowndes County.
I'm from a city called Austin, Georgia, right on the border of Florida. I was raised on these dirt roads, mud tires, spin backwoods when they ride. This is small town living, yeah. Now welcome to my city, title town, 229, turn it up so they can hear it loud. We headed up with big trucks and heavy G's, pretty girls with moonshine and whiskey.
As a player, you are well aware of the tradition of excellence at Buford High School. Many here tonight are too old to put on their green jersey and fight for the Wolves as they have in the past. Many youngsters...
What the heck is going on around here? Hey, listen, everybody knows that Buford High School has taken over Georgia high school football, but apparently they've hacked into my computer system and taken over my streaming session called the Viking Nation Live. Can you guys believe that? I'm just kidding. I don't want anybody from Buford suing me or anything, accusing me of saying they hacked. I'm just kidding. It's a joke. But I just thought it would be a little bit fun to start off the program with a little bit of Glory Land. Now, we're going to revisit that video a little bit later on, because there's a reason for it, especially if you are going to be attending the football game tomorrow night. It's not the first time you're going to see that, and it's not the second time. You're going to see that prominently displayed on their gigantic video board right there in Tom Ryden Stadium. Hey, guys, welcome to the Viking Nation Live. I'm your host, Larry Godwin. Well, what's up, all you sports fans out there, coming into the eve of the biggest game that we've had this year, round 2 of the GHSA state football playoffs. So welcome to all you sports maniacs all across Titletown and all across Viking Nation. Welcome to One Lowndes, One Nation. We are the Viking Nation. If you're new to the program, welcome aboard. What you're going to find here is what you found here all year long. Passionate football fans, passionate sports fans in general, with a little bit of touch of crazy. So if that appeals to you, you have come to the right place. So welcome aboard. So we've got a pretty good show tonight. It's going to be jam-packed. Of course, you got me. You've got other super fans like our guy, Armand Rashad Williams. Chase Garnto can't be with us for tonight because he's got some family obligations to tend to. But in his stead, we've got the world famous, nationally acclaimed sports extraordinaire in Phil Jones with ITG Next. Hey, y'all don't tell him that I was kind of bragging on him like that, okay? Kind of pumping up his ego because I'm expecting Phil, like he always does, to bring his A game when it comes to high school football because he's got a lot of knowledge about Buford football in general. He's been up there several times. I think he broadcast a game up there. I don't know if it was this year or last year, but he's been up there several times. And I remember a few years ago when Buford was in not the highest class, but they were in class 6A at the time. Remember, there were 7 classes up until this year. And so they were meeting Lee County in the state championship game. So Phil and I go up there and we're standing on the Lee County sideline and we're dressed in Lee County gear, right? Because we're a couple of South Georgia boys. We went up there to support Fabrizio and his Lee County Trojans. And so we got the red, white, and black on. We've got the video camera doing, Phil's putting me to work. So, I'm filming video the entire time because their ITG is going to put together a highlight reel for them, right? And so as the game progresses, I will never, ever forget this moment. And when I get Phil on the screen, I'm going to kind of poke him a little bit because I see him in the background. He knows the story that I'm about to share. And so he and I are standing around sidelines and we decide to walk around the field. And so remember, it's Lee County on one side, Buford Wolves on the other side. And we've got our Lee County gear with cameras in hand, right? So we go and go to the other side of the Buford sideline. And because we're official press and that kind of stuff. And so we're filming, we're taking highlights, that kind of stuff. And so I'm walking along and I just keep on walking because all these people dressed in green and gold and I'm just keep on walking. What does my man Phil do? He steps over there to the Buford players tent and checking out the team and they've got their big computer screen. And I said, Phil, what are you doing? What are you doing? Because he's got a camera in hand too, I think. And he's got this Lee County gear on standing behind the players at their players tent. I said, dude, what are you doing? Let's go. And it finally dawns on him. It's like, oh yeah, this is not a good look. And so we kind of scurry out of there. So for a second. So let me go ahead and bring on my man, Armand Williams. Armand, how you doing, buddy?
Listen, man, I am in day 2 of my intermittent fasting, as suggested by you, Larry.
That's right.
And
That's right. I've shed about 30 pounds since May doing that, and so this is day 2 for you. How's it going?
Oh, I'm hungry. No, I'm not that hungry. I actually, by the time lunchtime comes, when it's time for me to eat,
yeah,
I'm ready. I ain't get out my way. I want what I want, but actually it wasn't as bad today as it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Yesterday I was starving. 10:30 come around. Oh God, I was starving. But today I was actually I'm okay.
Yeah, the first week, I'll be honest with you, the first week it was difficult. Once you get past that first week, it becomes second nature. Now when I get up, I don't even think about eating until noontime. And so for you guys that have never done intermittent fasting, basically you pick sometimes a 6, sometimes an 8-hour window, and that's your window that you can eat. Okay. The rest of the time, you're not eating. You're only drinking liquids, drinking coffee, drinking water, whatever you want to drink, but nothing with sugar in it. Okay. But so you've got this 6 to 8 hour window during the day. So my time slot is from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. So that's lunchtime to about 8 p.m. And that's the time period that I can eat. The rest of the time, I'm not eating. And as a result, I've shed about 30 pounds since May. Feel a lot better.
We got the exact same time slot.
There you go.
Yeah, but it's like I said, it's only been the second day.
Yeah.
And like I say, it wasn't as bad today as it was the first day. Yesterday, I was looking at the clock. I was like, these are the longest 12 minutes of my life.
I hear you, man.
And then it's lunchtime for me, but then the customer comes in. So now I got to wait to 12:45.
That's funny, right? Hey, listen, last thing, we'll wrap up this banter about intermittent fasting. I am putting my fasting on hold tomorrow night at about 2:30 a.m. Well, Saturday morning about 2:30 a.m. You know why?
What?
Because I will be on my way back from Buford celebrating a Lowndes win, and I'm going to stop at Buc-ee's and get me a barbecue sandwich at 2:30 in the morning.
Somehow I knew you were going to Buc-ee's.
You gotta, because on the way back, since Valdosta is going to be up at Carrollton, on the way back, Lowndes and Valdosta are going to take over Buc-ee's about 2 to 3 a.m.
Yeah,
that's just the way it's going to be.
Day 2 after Helene, I took the family up to
Buc-ee's.
Yeah. We just had to get a change of scenery, and so we drove up there and came back. And plus, it's used to be in the AC.
Yeah,
AC for about 4 hours. But yeah, Buc-ee's is that was my actually first time like really going in and just walking around.
Yeah.
Most of the time, every time I went, I just went straight to got my gas and went straight to the brisket stand and left. But we actually walked around. And I was like, wow, a lot of stuff in Buc-ee's.
Yeah. So Jerry Safford checking in tonight. He says Juju Lewis is going to Colorado. If you guys don't know who Julian Lewis is who he's talking about. All-world senior quarterback for the Carrollton Trojans, who will be hosting Valdosta tomorrow night. He's this hotshot superstar quarterback, and he is as good as advertised, right? So he's been committed to USC for a long time, but recently decommitted. I thought he was going to announce that he was going to go to Georgia because he was on the Georgia sideline last weekend. But now he announces that he's going to commit to Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes.
Yeah, and that's interesting. But well, it's not interesting that he decommitted because USC is a sinking ship. That's going down out there. But the fact that he's going to Colorado, in some ways it makes sense. In some ways it doesn't make sense. Like if Deion sticks there, if he stays there after Shedeur leaves, then of course it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, because
you're still going to have the spotlight shined on you from day one. But if Deion leaves, then it's like, oh yeah, you're out there in Colorado.
I hope he lands at my Dallas Cowboys. So we'll see.
Deion?
Yeah.
What? I think I don't want him.
Okay, we won't go down that road. I'm a
Cowboys fan too. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
I am a Cowboys fan, man.
Yeah, I am too, and I'm not ashamed to say it. You haters out there can hate away, but we're not here to talk about the Dallas Cowboys tonight. We're here to talk about the mighty Lowndes Vikings. Let's do a quick recap of last Friday night's game. Did the outcome surprise you?
No.
Okay, it didn't surprise me either. Did the margin of victory surprise you?
Not really.
Okay,
not really.
Did anything surprise you during that game?
Honestly, there were no punts.
There were no punts. Exactly right.
It surprised me.
Yeah. So I was kind of surprised by that too. And so as I was, it's one thing. You and I have talked about this before, Armand, is when you're on that sideline, especially if you're taking pictures through that and you're looking at the game through that viewfinder, you miss a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Right. You miss a lot of things that are going on in the periphery around you, the stadium. So the better seats actually up in the stands. You can see a lot more, incidentally. This is why, a lot of fans blame referees for not seeing obvious holes in because there was one play last week where, they had the ball on offense and the quarterback scrambling rolls out to the right, and our left defensive end he's trying to chase down the quarterback, but he's being held left and right, and it's almost tackled, right? And he's standing right in front of the white hat referee, and you get no flag. And when I was down there, and I was outraged just like everybody else in the stadium was, why wasn't that fault called? But going back and watching the game again, because it was on NFHS and it was recorded, so I went back and watched on demand. And so we got to that point, and it's like, oh, that's why. Have you ever heard the expression, you can't see the forest because of the trees?
Yeah.
That's basically what happens with officials, right? That you have 6 or 7 in a playoff game. You probably have 7 plus. You have all the officials that are actually manning the chains, that kind of stuff. Playoff games, you are just surrounded by officials. But every official in that field has got a position, and they've got a certain area that they're looking, right? And so that white hat basically is looking to protect their quarterback. He's staring at the quarterback, and his eyes are following the quarterback. And so as that that hold was taking place, his focus was not on that, because he couldn't see that. He was only staring at the ball over here. So that's why. And the umpire was staring at the line. You got line judges that are looking at wide receivers. That was one of those types of plays where it happens in front of everybody, but there's no official that actually looks in that direction. So they don't see it.
Yeah.
It drives us crazy because everybody else sees it, but they're not, it doesn't happen in front of them. And there's only a handful of those guys. So unless something happens in front of them, they don't call it.
Yeah. I mean, it's like officiating, even at the little league level, when you only have 2 or 3 people, you know,
extremely difficult.
It's extremely difficult. And then the older the kids get, the faster the game gets. And that's something, it's a nuance to it.
Yeah.
And you want to let the kids play, but at the same time, you want to make sure you get the right calls as well. Because once you set a precedence, you know, you're going to have to follow it.
That's right.
There might be something you can say, all right, yeah, that might have been holding, or it might have been pass interference, but you know what, I'm gonna let that one slide this time. Yeah. And so they might not give that you know, they might be so quick to pull the trigger and throw on the flag. But there were some plays. Now that last one that should have been offensive pass interference.
Sure,
that was just blatant. Like, I don't know why he didn't call that one.
That was. I think he didn't call it because it was so late in the game, and it wouldn't have changed the outcome. And you know, I think he just gave those guys a break. My honest opinion, because it was obvious. It was obvious pass interference.
Yeah, I was like, dude, he just pushed him down right in front of you.
Yeah, Coach Carter was not very pleased either.
Yeah, he earned every word of that tongue lashing. So.
Exactly right. Hey, let's go to the comments. A couple of them really kind of stick out. Jerry Safford says the defense did not play well. That kind of surprised him. And then Tierra Battle has a similar comment. She says, every time we have off weeks, it seems like defensive play gets a bit sloppy. Do you think defensive play was sloppy? I didn't think it was sloppy, but some people do.
So this is the issue, right? And against North Paulden, and shout out to Travis Hart. Travis Hart made sure that I saw him. He spoke to me on my way in, and you know, he was a long time viewer of the channel. But shout out to Travis Hart. But back to the defense. I think what we saw was a result of our defensive ends not containing. Like, they're taking it out. What was going on was there were these huge gaping holes,
right? Because
the defensive end decided to go outside instead of just coming straight up the field. And so when that happens, especially when you got a 3-man front, you create these huge running lanes for the quarterback to run through. And you could tell that was something that they identified on film.
Right.
Because a lot of times the quarterback would just he wasn't even looking to throw the ball to anybody. He was
waiting for that guy to go by him and take it off
and take off running, because they really didn't have much of nothing.
Yeah.
But we gave them that. And that's what I think the result of it was. I think the quarterback probably had 150 yards rushing by himself.
Yeah. So, listen, before we bring Phil on the screen in a couple of minutes, I wanted to run something by you along these lines, because something that really stood out to me as I went back and watched the game film over was, you know, I didn't know, because it did seem like you made the comment that it kind of surprised you there was no punting by either team. Okay.
Yeah.
Which means that you either had a lot of turnovers or offenses kept the ball for a long time and just ended up not scoring. And the latter was the case.
Yeah.
Including North Paulding. They did a really good job of driving up and down the field, but when they would approach the 30 or the 20, their drives would stall. For obvious reasons. I think major part was our defense. That area of opportunity really condenses in that short field, and you have less room to work with if you're an offensive unit. And so, some defenses really go out of their way to employ, fans casually call it a bend but don't break type of defense. Do you think, being a defensive guy, do you think that would be a fair characterization of our defense this year? Because I've seen it in several games: North Paulding, Valdosta, a little bit of Camden. I think we tried to do it against Colquitt County, where you would give up these huge yards going down the field, but that field would become compressed, and you would either force them to a field goal or turn it over on downs. Do you think it's fair to characterize the defense's identity as a bend but don't break defense this year?
I want to say yes, but then a part of me wants to say no because
right, I'm the same way.
Because too many times I've seen these kids get out there and 3 and out, 3 and out. But I think what we're seeing is, like, last year we saw a lot of man-to-man defense, right, on the back end, and we got burnt a lot last year, right? This year, you see them keeping the everything in front of them. And so, is it playing it safe? I don't think so. I think it's just playing to their strengths.
Yeah.
I think they play a lot of zone, and they keep everything in front of them. But then once that field condenses, okay, we got you in the box. Let's go ahead and get you off the field.
Right. So with that said, I want to, you know me by now, I'm going to go back and take a look at stats and that kind of stuff. So I had to run down some stats. Let me go and pull up some stats real fast. And what you're looking at on the screen now is basically a stat sheet of the entire season against every opponent. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the stats that you see on the left where it says the opponent, rush, pass, total, those are the offensive stats for our opponents. Okay. And the far right of the gray bar there where it says LHS, the far right are Lowndes' offensive stats. Okay. So you can tell if you're talking about the opponent's offensive stats, those are basically Lowndes' defensive stats, right? Make sense? Okay. So with that said, what you can see is kind of almost like a clear pattern here where we do give up a lot of rushing yards. We do. Whether it's against Kell or Colquitt or Camden, you saw that against even North Paulding. Many of those rushing yards were what you were talking about a while ago, this intended quarterback scramble or takeoff, whatever you want to call it. But those counts in the rushing stats as well. Do you think this is concerning if now you kind of fast forward to tomorrow night and going against Buford, who makes their bread and butter running the ball?
No.
Okay, tell me why.
And here's the reason why. Like, the teams that are, even against Colquitt got the majority of those yards in the first half, right?
Okay.
It is what it is. Even if I'm looking at Richmond Hill, they run the ball a lot. Camden. So even just replaying these games in my mind, nothing was really alarming. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, as far as like where we were giving up. Yeah, they gave up some, I think a couple of pop plays, here and there. But it's not alarming to me because this defense doesn't give up the big play.
Right.
Too often. Like, there's nothing getting behind them. If they give up a big play, know that kid made a heck of a play. And it's just not alarming. But this has been their identity all year. Hey, we're gonna keep everything in front of us, but we coming downhill. Right? Yep. And pack a lunch because it's gonna be a long day. That's how this defense plays. Now Buford, they do run the ball extremely well. That's right. They do. They have a pretty good sized offensive line, and they're good at what they do. I think Lowndes just has to, just like we said against Valdosta, Lowndes just has to stay within their game plan. Defense, we're gonna have to keep them behind the sticks. That's what you have to do. So against Buford, you might see them stack the box, roll up that fourth guy. Just go ahead and have him up there just to fill that gap.
That's
But
right.
I think you're gonna see huge games from like Lorenzo Munitin. I think he's gonna have to have a monster game, and if he does, I'm not worried about anything. And
Well, with that said, on what Lowndes is going to have to do and specific players, let's go ahead and bring on Phil Jones to talk about what we can expect from Buford and maybe the Buford Wolves in general. So Phil Jones with ITG Next. How are you, buddy?
Hey guys, how's it going? Thanks so much for having me, Larry.
Yeah, man, sure thing. Phil, let's talk about let's fast forward till tomorrow night. You know probably out of the three of us on the screen, you probably know Buford better than all three of us. So you've seen them play in person. You know about the history of the Buford Wolves. First of all, I'm going to ask you, what makes Buford such a different team in the state of Georgia? I guess what I'm asking is, why are they so prominent on the national scene?
Well, that's a good question. Obviously, their history speaks for itself. They've got great facilities. The facilities probably get as much, coverage, as the team's performance does. Everybody talks about the new high school, which looks like a small college. Everybody's talking about that new stadium they're building. It'll replace Tom Ryden Stadium, which of course is in its final season.
That's right.
Of hosting Buford football. So I think there's a lot of things. You get it right down to it, though, man. They've got some great playmakers. They've got some great talent. They had the nation's #1 quarterback playing for them last year. Great talent, great facilities, great history, great coaching. All the above, Larry.
Yeah, Phil, I'm going to put Armand. I'm going to get your opinion on this too. I'm going to put a quote on the screen, and I'm going to get you to comment on it. This was from a media organization up in that area called Access WDUN.
Yep.
Okay, and they did a fantastic job of a documentary on Tom Ryden Stadium that you were talking about a while ago. And so they have a show called Friday Night Pick'em or something like that. And so they were talking about Lowndes versus Buford this coming week. And this is when I was watching that last night, this quote stood out to me. This is what it said. One of their guys says this: I think that's the biggest thing right now in the favor of Buford is I know that we're talking about having played Valdosta and Colquitt County and all those teams down in South Georgia for Lowndes, but have they seen a team as physical as Buford is going to be on the front line offensively and how they run the football with their shoulder pads first? So I was kind of alluding to this a while ago when I was talking to Armand, like their bread and butter is they love to be a physical run first team, right? Lowndes has traditionally been a physical run stop team. Okay. Something's got to give in this game, right? You got a team like Lowndes that prides itself on stopping the run. You got a team like Buford that's big, physical, prides itself in being able to run the football. What gives tomorrow night?
Well, obviously, I'll cut right to the chase.
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know, I'm picking Lowndes in an upset, 28-27.
Ooh.
And, sorry if I stole your thunder there, Larry. But, and look, let's make no doubt. I mean, there's no bones about it. Lowndes is going to have to play pretty well, close to perfect football for that to happen. I see Robert Lindsay commented. I guess he's commenting on my comment about Lowndes has all that I mentioned. Well, the difference is Lowndes has had a couple of, losing seasons, and you got to go a long way back to find out the last time Buford had consecutive losing seasons. It's not a shot. It's just a simple fact.
Yeah.
Which goes to your comment. That's another thing as far as why Buford gets a lot of the exposure and a lot of the attention nationally, because, they are competing for state championships year in and year out, which of course they are again this year. Anyway, I just wanted to address his comment. Yeah. But I think a couple of things, in mind about this game. So, yes, Lowndes has got to play great defense. Buford's got so many weapons. But Lowndes, I'll tell you the thing that has struck me about the comparison between these two teams this year. Lowndes has had a lot of different guys that have made an impact. You guys probably have seen that more than I have.
Yeah.
Buford also has a lot of different guys. They're not like your team that has the quarterback and one or two great players. Both teams have got a lot of different playmakers. That makes planning for each other that much more difficult.
Right.
Probably had more film watching this week on both sides than each side has had all season long. Okay. But I think it's going to take a perfect game for Lowndes or close to it.
Yeah.
Turnovers are going to come into play. But let me say this. Buford, and this is one of the reasons I'm picking this upset. What goes up must come down. Buford has played nearly flawless all year, even in their regular season opening loss to Milton, who a lot of people consider the best team in the state of Georgia, albeit different classification. But since then, Buford, they got behind the Benedictine, came back, won that one. And since then, they played nearly flawless. They're due for an off night.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, their history, even though they've played well, I think they have underperformed in each of the last 3 seasons. And I think that's one of the things that is haunting Brian Appling and the Wolves. As good a program as they are, as consistent a winner as they have been. So kind of jumping the gun there, but kind of give you an explanation behind why I'm picking the upset.
Gotcha. Okay. Armand, you on board with Phil tomorrow night picking the upset?
Well, Phil, I hate to steal your thunder, but Vikes by 50. You already know.
Phil, that's his tagline. Every single game, he's picked Vikings by 50.
I hear you.
By 50. They ain't changing it now. Listen, I think offensively we have a lot of firepower. Whether it's Marvis Parrish, who seems like out of every game he's popping a 50-yard run. You got the Waffle House who's open 24/7. And we get Aiden Seafoot, he's back. A big 6'5", 215-pound target at tight end. Not to mention Road Dog. We have weapons. Defensively, it's that no-name defense by committee. But we know their names: Montez Hundley, Trey Thomas, Trey Thomas, Lorenzo Moonington, and the gang, KJ Massey. We know them, right? But they play as a team. Like Phil said, every week is somebody different for Lowndes, right? So that means that they trust in the system and they're not selfish. And because they're not selfish, they are playing together. And that's what they're going to have to do. Do they have to play perfect? No, you're never going to have the perfect game. But what they have to do is play within themselves and believe in the system that they bought into. And they can go up there and beat Buford. It would not shock me if Lowndes does win by 50. Gotcha. It would shock everybody else, but it wouldn't shock me.
Hey, Phil, let me ask you something a little bit different. Different type of question that is. When I think of Lowndes football, it was all the things that you described when it comes to Buford. But there was one other word that describes both communities. And the reason this word popped into my head, because I was watching all kinds of highlights this week about Buford and their Glory Land video, that kind of stuff. One of the things that I noticed that's different from other Metro Atlanta teams, when we go to a North Gwinnett or when we go to play East Coweta or Grayson, you know what I notice on the home side? A lack of fans in the stands. But when I looked at highlight videos of Buford games, their side is full of fans. And so I started looking into that, and you tell me if I'm off base here. There seems to be in that city school system called Buford, in that North Gwinnett metro Atlanta area, they have seemed to build a community around there that rallies around that program, much like Lowndes does.
That's right? An excellent point, Larry, that you make. Great point. And that's another thing I probably should have added to my comments. So you've got a lot of the teams in the Atlanta area that have been successful, okay? North Gwinnett, Parkview, Grayson. But if you go to those games, the home crowd, the home stands are like you described, maybe half full, if that.
Right.
Buford does have more of a community feel, and that has been since the days that they were a AA team, AAA team. And that's another reason for their success. They've been able to stay successful all the way through their growth from the days of, and I can remember when they were a AA school. I went up there and called a AA playoff game between Cook and Grayson, or between Cook and Buford, when Shannon Brown ran wild over Buford, albeit in a loss 21-14. But that's another reason, Larry, kind of to your point.
They had to be
Gotcha.
what, 96? No, Shannon Brown.
Cook County Hornets.
Yeah, I know. What year was that?
No, I can't remember. I'm terrible with years.
Gotcha. That's the name I hadn't heard in a while.
Well, let me go ahead and address a comment that I saw earlier, and it's from RJ Ramos. I'm going to disagree with RJ a little bit. He says, I believe that Buford will underestimate the Vikings. That's not the case at all. Brian Apley and the Buford Wolves know about the tradition of Lowndes High School. They know about the reputation as being a very physical team. So they're not taking the Vikings lightly at all. I can assure you of that. This is going to be two powerhouse teams. Lowndes has stumbled in the last couple of years, but Adam Carter looks like he has resurrected the program. Fantastic. Buford has not missed a beat. So I think this is going to be two powerhouses just showing all kinds of respect to each other tomorrow night. It's going to be a very, very physical game. That's what I think. This football game is going to be won in the trenches, like it normally is in a football game. But this particular game specifically, I'm looking for the Lowndes defensive front against Buford's offensive front. I think that is going to be the tail of the tape. The Lowndes offense, guys, they're going to do what the Lowndes offense has done all year long. This is probably the most balanced Lowndes offensive team that I've seen in probably 20 plus years. So the key tomorrow night is the strength of the Lowndes tradition, which is stopping the run, against the strength of the Buford tradition, which is running the football. That's the battle that I'm looking for tomorrow night. You guys agree or disagree?
Go ahead, Armin.
I agree in many regards. I just think defensively, I think you're gonna have. Let me just say this: they've run through everybody, right?
Yeah.
I don't think the defense has given up more than 7 points, except for to Milton and one other school, right? And so I don't know, but I don't know those other schools that they played. I don't know their background. All right, I'm kind of tunnel vision looking at Lowndes all year. But what I will tell you is this: Lowndes is going to have to play complementary football, meaning that they're going to have to, get the 3 and outs when they can, get the defense off of the field, because when you got those big teams that like to run the ball, they lean on you.
Yeah.
And late in the game, those legs start to get heavy when they're leaning on you like that. So Lowndes, they can't make those mistakes where they give up a silly penalty and give them a first down when they had 3rd and 13. It's just those things like that. And I think that's what Phil was talking about, playing perfect. Not necessarily playing perfect, but not making the silly and stupid mistakes that has plagued Lowndes at times this year. So that's what I think is going to be what's going to tilt the scales for either team. Who makes the least amount of mistakes?
Okay. So Phil, last question for you there is you picked Lowndes in an upset.
Yep.
28-21. Does that
28-27.
28? What's that? Say that again.
28-27.
28-20. Oh, a 1 point game. So do you think Lowndes has got to start fast and keep their foot on the gas the entire night?
I don't think they necessarily have to start fast, and let me tell you why. Buford has this thing. It happened last week against East Coweta. It's happened several times this year, where the opposing team will come in thinking they've got to start out fast, and they do. East Coweta got out to a 6-0 lead last week, right off the bat.
That's true. Yeah.
And that's happened a lot to Buford. So to me, the fast start, doesn't mean anything. Steady wins the race. And I think, though, it's going to be about a matter of which team can minimize the other's big plays.
Gotcha.
Because Buford is a big play team. Just when you think you're creeping in, they'll bust a punt return for 60 yards. So that's going to be the key to this game. That's going to be the key to Lowndes winning it, is minimizing the Buford big plays, because that's where they'll absolutely kill you. Big play on special teams, as you guys know, is a momentum changer.
Yeah. Absolutely. Something else that I'm looking for tomorrow night when Buford's got the football is, like I said, they're gonna sell out to run the ball. They're going to pound it, pound it, pound it. And they're going to look for our safeties to come up, Armand, and then they're going to play action passes and try to go over the top. And I'm expecting that several times tomorrow night. So I'm hoping beyond hope that our secondary is very sound, fundamentally playing assignment, that kind of stuff, not biting on the things that's going on in front of them at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, but the one thing I can say, Coach Josh, good Lord, I forgot his last name, but y'all know what I'm talking about. And Coach Demps, they communicate very well with the secondary. Yeah. And Josh Norwood, Coach Norwood has been he's been a difference maker when it comes to Lowndes in the secondary. And him and Coach Demps, they're a heck of a tandem that keep these guys in the right position. And it's like they're not confusing them. They're just telling them, hey, it's this and this when they look to the sidelines. And so that's gonna be, I think Coach Norwood and Coach Demps are gonna have those boys ready.
That's right. All right, Phil. I told you a while ago, last question. I kind of feel this is the last question, but it's a simple one. Before we let you go, and that is Valdossa's got to travel up to Carrollton tomorrow night. What's your prediction for the Cats and Trojans up there?
Man, I tell you, I know Armand was saying earlier he wouldn't be surprised, at this Lowndes Buford game. Guys, it's not going to surprise me if Valdosta goes to Carrollton and upsets Carrollton.
Okay.
Listen, I've said this all year. I think Todd Robinson, maybe the best quarterback in the state when he's healthy. And he's not healthy, but I think he's getting there. I think last week we saw kind of a taste of that. But if he can get better, if he can play better, if he has a little bit of mobility, man, he's the X factor.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. So I think a lot of it depends on how healthy, how mobile he can be in that game against Carrollton. And if he's not able to be close to 100%, and I'm not saying he is, but that may be the difference maker. Let me say one other thing before I let you guys go about the Lowndes Buford game, and I promise I'll if you'll let me have the final word on this. Buford, and this is another reason for my upset pick. Buford has had this thing the last few years. Last year, I thought they had the best team in the state, and they came up short. They didn't play their best in their biggest game, which was against Grayson. I think it was in the quarterfinals. Year before, I think it was Walton. In fact, I think that was a second-round game. They didn't even make the quarterfinals. So they got this history of, even though they run roughshod through the regular season, they may win a playoff game.
Yeah.
They've got this history of just laying an egg at the wrong time. And, again, until they change my mind, I think that could be another factor. And let me just say this too. Adam Carter has done a fantastic job. Coach of the year in what he's done. I think he's ahead of the plan for Lowndes. He's got them ahead of the curve and a great motivator. So he's another big X factor in this game, in my decision to pick Lowndes to upset Buford.
Gotcha. Well, guys, there you have it. You've heard from Phil Jones with ITG Next. Phil, you do a show every Monday, right? Tell the folks how they can catch more of your content.
Yeah, Monday at 5:00. It's Extra Point with myself. Mazzani Matthews is our videographer. She co-hosts the show with me. She's the one that controls the cameras and the audios and pushes all the buttons and everything. I just simply get up there and talk. And anyway, we host that 5:00 at ITG Next, our Facebook page. You can check it out. Then, of course, guys, be sure to subscribe to our newsletter. We got a lot of great content. Look at all the other picks that I've made in this second round of the playoffs. Got a lot of great content. And, guys, we go across the entire state and cover high school football. So, guys, be sure to check it out at ITG Next Georgia.
Phil, as always, you're a consummate professional. Let's hope that Buford lays the biggest egg of the year tomorrow night. So
they're due. They're due.
They're due. Appreciate it, Phil. Thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks for the invite, guys. See you, Armand. See you, Larry.
See you, man. Phil, I mean, that dude's a professional. If you've got a question about a high school football team in the state, I always call Phil. He knows just about every coach in the state by name.
I gotta say, every time we have Phil on, I always forget to ask him. But it maybe a few years ago we had a discussion on Facebook, and Phil said, "Well, I'd love to buy you coffee and let's talk about it face to face." I still ain't got my coffee yet from Phil. And I keep forgetting to ask him until after he signs off. and I just thought about it. Like, Phil, you owe me a coffee, man. In the conversation.
Listen, he's maybe I can facilitate that coffee meeting one day.
Nah, you're good, man. In fact, we probably should at the end of the season maybe get everybody together around with a cup of coffee and talk about the how Lions won state.
I hear you. Yeah, man, listen, I'm just hoping for them laying an egg tomorrow night. You got Lions winning state already.
Yeah. I mean, listen, Lions win state. The Bulldogs win the national championship, and the Cowboys win the Super Bowl. These are my 3 predictions every year. Man. Every year. It never fails.
Sometimes if the Bulldogs can't win the national championship for whatever reason, then I hope Notre Dame does. Don't be hating. Don't be hating.
Nah, I'm not a Notre Dame fan. I'm just not a Notre Dame fan. But I like Notre Dame more than I like Oklahoma and Texas. But yeah, that's a whole different. I could go about an hour.
I just got a text from Phil that says, "Tell Armand to meet me tomorrow morning at Good Coffee. I'll own up."
Well, what time? Because I got to be to work at 9. Phil.
Listen, I'm gonna connect you two after the show, so y'all can plan this mandate. All right. So anyway.
But hey, I do want to say something though.
Yeah.
And Phil, he when he said something when he says Buford is due, right? The one thing I can tell you is that I think Lowndes is due as well. And when I say what they're due for, is they're due for a total performance, right? Because we've had games where, or just a complete game, they're due for one, right? Where they dominate from start to finish. And we haven't had one in a while, right? Where we just dominated on defense and dominated on offense, and the game's over by the 4th quarter. We're due for one of those.
Yeah.
Right? I think I want the freshmen to play.
I hear you, man.
this week. So
listen, it would thrill me more than anything to have it where Lowndes is up 21, 28 points with 5 minutes left in the 4th quarter, and we start emptying the benches and letting the seniors that never touched the field, letting the JV in, letting the 9th graders, letting the 7th graders play, whoever else. You and I can suit up and play tomorrow.
Yeah.
It would thrill my soul to see that happen.
Me too. And also, I told you this, right? Now he said something that I disagree with.
Okay.
But he let me say he called him the best quarterback in the state. But in my opinion, Marvis Parrish should be player of the year for the state. Statewide. He should be the player of the year.
I agree, man.
Like I don't think we've seen a kid, even though he hasn't, maybe if he got more opportunities on defense. But it's been a while since someone Greg Reed was the last one who played on offense and defense that put up numbers like him.
Yeah. So Mike Scott says, Armand, you and Phil come on over to Hug a Mug on me. Let me know when you are going. Mike, okay. Do you own Hug a Mug? Hugging a Mug? So if so, I didn't know that. He says, and by the way, Larry can tag along as well.
Well, we'll have to do it one Thursday.
There you go. All right, let me put on some. I did want to play this. I wanted to make it a point. You guys saw the video that I led off with called Gloryland, and I discovered this by watching on YouTube earlier this week. There, like I said, there's a media group up there called Access WDUN, and they don't cover Buford exclusively, but they do a lot of good work. And one of the things they did was put together this documentary, basically about their stadium they're retiring, basically at the end of the season, called Tom Ryden Stadium. So anyway, they go into the history of Buford football, and it reminded me a lot of the Lowndes tradition. It really did. When it comes to Martin Stadium and that kind of stuff. And so I think one of their head coaches, was Dexter Wood one of their head coaches? I can't remember.
I don't know.
I think so. And so he's on this documentary and they're interviewing, and he says when he was a head coach, he and some other assistant coaches, administrators really wanted to come up with a way to kind of promote community and the history of Buford football and that kind of stuff. And they'd settled on this song called Glory Land. And they set it to a video, and they added a bunch of great highlight plays and things like that throughout Buford's history. And so they started playing it before every home game. And so kickoffs at 7:30, they usually play it on the big screen there in the stadium about 7 o'clock. And he says all the fans on the home side will stand up to attention. They'll start rocking back and forth. They'll start singing the song along. So that's why it kind of reminded me when I made the comment, it reminded me about community. So they're a big metro Atlanta area, right? But somehow they found the magic formula of creating community in a big metro setting. And I think that is really special, no matter where you are, whether it's Berrien County, Cook County, Lowndes County, or even Buford. If you can create community and get everybody rowing in the same direction, man, that's a special place. And from the outside looking in, it just seems like that's what Buford's created. So they play this video 7 o'clock. And he said something really interesting to me. He says many times over the years, he will look across the sideline and he will notice that opposing players will stop what they're doing. They'll stop going through their drills, whatever, look up at the video board. And he says that he can tell when they're about to win because the look on an opposing player's face. Because you know why? What he was alluding to, the it factor. And that's what Lowndes has always kind of prided itself. Many, many times we've talked about teams would already be defeated before they even came and set foot in Martin Stadium. And so that's what Coach Wood was talking about. There's many times when teams are already defeated because they're not playing a football team. They realize they're playing an entire community, an entire football program. And that's what Lowndes really prides itself on, right? So you got two community programs really going after each other tomorrow night.
And let me ask you this question. Do you think Buford is like the new Snellville, like that area for Atlanta?
I'm not sure. I don't really know much about the whole metro Atlanta area. I'm not sure.
Because I know like about 25 years ago, like Snellville was that one place where a lot of people moved to. They started moving there. And then, what's that? Is a Brookwood High School.
Yeah.
Snellville. So, and then next thing you know, you hear Buford starting to, more people moving to that area and whatnot. So I'm just wondering if they're like the new Snellville.
There. So I'm going to play about 30 seconds of this video. So you can, if you're just now tuning in, you'll see what I'm talking about. And then I'm going to post the link to YouTube in the comments if you want to go later on after the show and watch the entire thing. It's about a 4 or 5 minute video, I think. So I'm going to play about 30 seconds. So y'all bear with me. Here it is right here.
We'll go to bed tonight and dream of one day becoming a part of the championship legacy that is Buford football. Now, on behalf of those who have gone before and those yet to come, you, this day, have the privilege of writing another chapter in the history and tradition of Buford football. As tonight, we step once again into glory land.
It started with a feeling, and a dream was born in you. You hope and pray that come the day you.
Okay, so that's all I can take of that. I hated the song. I really did.
That's horrible.
I couldn't stand the song.
Wait a minute. Wait. There's a reason why people stop and look, because it's a clear distraction. The GHSA needs to ban, and I mean forever ban this song. Look, they could have took the theme house from Little House on the Prairie. They could have took anything but this after school special reject song. That has to go.
Come on, it means something to them, man.
It's a distraction. It don't mean nothing to them, Larry. That's a distraction. That song is horrible. That is the worst song I've ever.
Okay. Tell us what you really think.
Dude, that song is horrible. It really reminds me of an 80s, 1980s after school special, like at the end of it when they all meet back up and everything. That music that's playing in the background, you're like, okay, I'm glad this movie's over now. That's what that reminds me of. That's horrible. That is horrible. I would rather listen to what's his name, Corey Haim, perform 2 hours straight at Wild Adventures, and right in the middle of August, the hottest day of the summer. I would rather watch Corey Haim perform for 2 hours. And Miss Jackie, I know you're your concert manager out there at Wild Adventures. You're probably watching. Please don't book Corey Haim. But nevertheless, that's what I would rather watch.
All right, so it's definitely not Valhalla Calling, that's for sure.
No, it's not. That's horrible.
Okay, so let's take a look at briefly about the brackets for tomorrow night. So obviously, Lowndes is traveling up to Buford. In the other lower right-hand quadrant game is North Gwinnett against Newton. Okay, so here's the deal: we're hoping for let me restate this. We're expecting a Lowndes win, and we're hoping for a Newton victory over North Gwinnett.
Why Newton victory?
Well, because if Newton beats North Gwinnett, okay, and then so they're a number 2 seed, we are a number 2 seed, and then a coin toss determines who the home team is.
But if okay, I see.
Okay, and that coin toss has already been held, and I cannot remember. Was it the lower teams won? I can't remember that. But if North Gwinnett wins and they beat Newton, then and we beat Buford, then we will be on the road again next week, traveling up to North Gwinnett. So anyway, all right. So Travis Hart says, not necessarily. If East Coweta wins, there'll be a coin flip for home East Coweta. What you guys talking about?
I don't know what he's talking about. East Coweta already lost.
Yeah, East Coweta was last week. They were beaten by Buford. Yeah. I think he's talking. He must be talking about. He must have misspoken and talked about Newton instead. Okay, so Jason Anderson, I love this guy because he comes up with the most clever expressions ever. We were talking about the song a while ago.
Yeah,
and he says, "Afternoon Delight is no longer the worst song I've ever heard." Have you ever seen the Alabama Crimson Tide version of Afternoon Delight that they play in their stadium?
No.
Oh my gosh, it's to me is the funniest thing I've ever seen. But Alabama Crimson Tide fans absolutely love that thing. So anyway,
the Gumps never surprised me, but
I think it's hilarious that you call them the Gumps. Let's see. Nathan Lincoln says, I thought we would be at North Gwinnett. We will be at North Gwinnett if North Gwinnett beats Newton and Lowndes beats Buford. The reason is North Gwinnett is a number 1 team, a number 1 seed out of region 7. And Lowndes is a number 2 seed. So if we had to meet, then since they're the number 1 seed, we would travel to North Gwinnett. That's usually how that works. Wilbur Pelfrey says the coin toss has been done, and the lower teams won that flip. So that means, if Wilbur is correct, that means that if Lowndes beats Buford, Newton beats North Gwinnett, Lowndes has already won the coin flip, and next week's game would be at the Concrete Palace. That would be outstanding. Outstanding. So a lot of things have to happen tomorrow night for that to happen.
Yeah. And all I know is that whatever these boys get, they earned it.
Yeah.
You know, and they didn't skip no lines. They earned it. And I just got so much faith in these guys, man.
Yeah.
And I know they love one another and they play for one another.
Yep.
And as long as they do that, like I said, man, I'm gonna keep saying Vikes by 50.
Vikes by 50. I love your confidence, man. I really do.
Man, I love my Vikings, man.
All right, so you say Vikes by 50. Let's go over some predictions here. I posted this earlier this week on the Viking Nation Live, or the Viking Nation, I should say. The Maxwell ratings projection came out, and if you guys are new to this, this is not a person this is a computer algorithm, a computer formula that plugs historical data in. This is basically, I was talking to Chase Garnto earlier today, and we were talking about this. He says, and then it dawned on, he says, oh, this is Moneyball. I said, yeah. This is analytics, just pure analytics. And the computer says, based on the analytics, Buford is a 16-point favorite. So now, fortunately for us, computers don't play the games. Okay. But here's what's going against us. And that is this. How accurate are the Maxwell ratings based on these analytics? So how did the computer do in round one? How accurate was it? So you see in 11, not 10 out of what you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Out of 13 games, the computer was right on 11 of them. So not a bad percentage, right? So what was the point difference? You see on this kind of next to the last column where it says difference, right? So that was the difference in the score and the projected delta, the difference in the score versus what he predicted or the computer predicted. So we said there were 13 games. So 11, I can't remember. 9 out of 13 games, he was within 10 points or less, right? So accurate with the pick on 11 out of 13, and then within 10 points or less on either side of that, he was pretty accurate as well. So that's what we're going up against, not just the Buford program, but the analytics of these two programs as well. And that's why we're 16-point dogs. You buying that?
No. No, because how many times has Georgia famously never covers the spread?
That's true.
Right. They win the game, but they never cover the spread.
Right.
So I never really buy into that. Now, if you were to ask me if I was a betting man, I would bet on Lions to cover.
Yeah.
To I don't know if it's cover the spread, but Lions, I would bet Lions to give me Lions in the points.
I hear you, man.
That's what I would do. But
this is the first time that these two programs have ever played.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top. I've said it on this program many, many times. You got to have at least 4 pillars in place to have sustainable, high-level winning programs, right?
Mm-hmm.
The number one thing that you got to have is community support. And both programs have it in abundance, right? You got to have administration support. Both programs have that. You got to have great head coaches plus at least good assistant coaches. Both have that. And then you got to have good coachable players. And both have that. So what's the tipping point between these two programs that seem like they're on parallel tracks with tradition and the way they play? They both play a very physical brand of football, right? Even when Lowndes loses, you see it down there on the field. There's a lot of wood that's being laid, right?
Yeah.
Even in losing efforts. So it's a very, very physical brand of football. So with that said, what is the tipping point between the two programs tomorrow night? Man, I think it's to me, this game is going to come down to coaching. There are going to be moments in this game, and you're going to feel it. You're going to see it when it's live on GPB tomorrow night. You're going to sense it like, this is what he was talking about. This is the moment. And you're going to have about a handful of those moments tomorrow night where coaching really is going to be a deciding factor, because I think both teams are pretty equal. I would give Buford the edge when it comes to just pure numbers of athletes. We've got good athletes. They just have more of them, right? And so their lines are a little bit bigger. Their skill sets are a little bit faster in bigger numbers, meaning they have more depth at those types of positions.
Mm-hmm.
So with that said, there's going to be a handful of plays tomorrow night that is really going to come down to coaching. I think that's going to separate it. So I'm picking Lowndes in an upset as well, but we're going to win by 4.
By 4? Okay, I want to ask you this question, Larry.
Yeah.
How many times have we stood on the sideline this year and said, whoa, Look at the offensive line. Talking about the other team.
Yeah.
And then how many times have they just handled them? It's been over and over and over again. So
hold on, man. Jason, I'm gonna see if I can find a way to put this on the screen.
what do you say?
Let's see if I can put this on the screen. Hold on. Let's see. God, come on, Larry. Think, man. Think. How you gonna do this? Oh, what the heck? Okay. Okay, so let's see if I can do this. This is too funny not to put it on the screen. Okay, so now I got to figure out a way to make it bigger. Okay, here we go. Okay, you ready for this?
Yeah.
All right. Hold on. Where the heck did it go? All right, there it is. Let's see. All right, let me share this. Jason is going to fall out of his chair when I share this.
Let's see what we got.
All right, here we go. So the Maxwell projections have now amended themselves, and it says Lounge by 50.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. You know, that's the confidence you got to have in your team.
That's right.
You got to have that confidence in your team, and I think like if Lions wins by 50, it's not a shock. Why? Because I've been saying it all year, and y'all know it's Vikes by 50. Then if I can finally say, "See, I told you so." But I will say this though, as I was before that comment came.
Yeah,
me and you constantly sit there and we on the sidelines looking at these other teams like, whoa, they got a big offensive line, but our defensive line just sees that as a challenge, and they meet the challenge head on, and they've been dominant all year. I don't think that's going to change. I just don't. So as long as they can stay in their lanes, play discipline, don't make mistakes, make them uncomfortable,
right,
by executing at a level that you're capable of, Lions should have no issues. Now it is it's like a 5-hour trip on the bus.
Yeah.
That's where the challenge is going to be, just trying to make sure your day is as normal as possible. I think they're leaving here around 9 in the morning or something like that. So they just got to make sure they stretch, they stay loose, and they'll be all right.
Yeah, in years past, it would be kind of easy to pick this game. In years past, I would have said Buford by 17. But to me, the difference is this year, as we close out tonight's show, is both teams are pretty balanced this year. I'm talking offensively.
Mm-hmm.
Lowndes, we all know that the story of Lowndes. Lowndes has probably been the most balanced offensive team that it's been in 20 years. This team can throw, it can run, it could play power ball, it could play fast. We've seen it play really, really fast when they need to, right? Or we can see it slow down. Lowndes is a very explosive team offensively. They like to get big chunks. So I haven't seen very many sustained drives from the Lowndes offense. I've seen it some, but that hasn't been the bread and butter of the Lowndes offense. But because of the skill players they have, I don't think the chunk plays have been planned. I just think the skill players have just made those, have created those chunk plays, right? Because how many times have we seen a simple Marvis wildcat play to the right turn into a 25, 30-yard scamper, right? Yeah. Or a screen to Jalen Carter turns into a 25-yard or a touchdown, right? Yeah. So we've seen that. We've seen the balanced approach that Lowndes offense. But on the flip side, Armand, I see that from Buford as well. In years past, they were a run-heavy team, but they've got a really, really good quarterback. Dylan Raiola left, and his brother has taken over the reins. He's a really good quarterback, and he has improved.
That's what it is.
What's that?
You know what I was thinking? I was looking at the stats, and I was like, they haven't updated these things.
Yeah, that's his little brother.
Okay, makes sense. I like this. These stats are old, so I can't even make the point I wanted to make because I saw Raiola. I'm like, why these still got last year's stats in it? So okay.
Yeah. So a couple of our viewers, Zena Robinson, others have said that the Lions varsity has already left, and that's what I expected. They
That's
left
good.
earlier today. They'll spend the night. They'll do a walkthrough tomorrow somewhere. I wouldn't be surprised if we see on social media they do a walkthrough of maybe Georgia's indoor facility or something like that earlier in the day, just to give those guys a break mentally, that kind of stuff. So I expect something like that. So I'm glad they're going up there and, relaxing tonight instead of trying to do everything tomorrow.
Yeah, man, and they deserve it too. Like I had the one thing I would tell you, and I'll tell anybody, if you're playing football and you make it to the playoffs, it's a war of attrition. So you got to make sure that you take care of yourself. Whether you make sure you're getting the proper rest, you're stretching, you're getting the ice baths. Do everything that you can to be ready.
That's right.
Because it's not necessarily the best teams. A lot of times it's the healthiest teams that will win the championship.
That's right.
Also,
All right, so you got Lowndes by 50. I got Lowndes by 4, and I'm going to give you the last word.
Parents, please hear me out when I say this. Most of you guys who are watching this, I know you guys have kids that are playing and they want to play on the next level. There is a very important rule change that's going to take effect next year before the D1, which is the FBS. I think that's what it's called, FBS. But whatever, the big boys with Georgia, Alabama,
yeah,
they could have 150 players on the team, 85 scholarships, and the rest could be walk-ons. Now they've trimmed that to 105. So if you have a kid that's going to a school, listen, all it does is trickle down and affect everything else. So if you have a kid that's interested in college and that college is interested in him, please make sure that he truly loves the school that he's at, because the transfer portal is flooded, and if he leaves, he may not find a home.
That's
So
right.
if they're interested in him and they offer him and he likes the school, please encourage him to take it.
That's probably why a lot of kids are kind of verbally committing early this year.
Mm-hmm.
Just go ahead and try to lock in a spot.
Yeah.
I think NIL, the transfer portal, and the litigation that's happening at the college level with college players, all that's having an effect. And I'm expecting the NCAA to announce pretty soon that college players are probably going to be put on the payroll or do some type of revenue share with the college football universities, that kind of stuff. When that happens, it makes sense why they're going to start putting a cap on roster sizes.
Yeah. So, hey, it sucks. It sucks, but that's where we're at.
That's right. Absolutely. Well, guys, listen, for you guys that are on the road tomorrow, remember, Buford's way on up there, northeast of Atlanta. It's going to take a while. It's Friday afternoon, so make sure you leave in plenty of time. Okay. And if you haven't gotten your ticket yet, you can get on GoFan and order your tickets now if you want to, or wait till tomorrow. You can still order them on GoFan. If you're not going to make the trip, because it's going to be cold and it's a long way, you can watch the game tomorrow night on GPB statewide. So, but if you don't get GPB, the station, on your cable package, GPB also streams directly to YouTube. So if you can stream regular YouTube to your TV or your computer, then check out GPB Sports YouTube channel, and they'll stream it there as well. If you are a subscriber to the NFH network, you can, I believe they're going to stream it there as well. So there are several venues that you can watch the game tomorrow night if you decide not to make it. Now, hopefully you make it up there, but if you don't, I understand. And those are areas or ways that you can watch the game. Okay. So with that said, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Let's cheer on our Vikings, bring home a big victory tomorrow night against the Buford Wolves. So on behalf of Armand Rashad, Chase Garnto, I'm Larry Godwin with the Viking Nation. As always, may God bless every single one of you. Hope you make it in church this Sunday. And as always, go Vikings.
Go Vikings.